Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Outlast cast assessment. Thank you for those of you who are joining us live, and hello to those that watch this in the future. My name is Justin. I'm the host of Outlast, and I'm joined by a panel of esteemed LRG, ORG fans of all things reality TV and games. Really excited to chat about our cast and about our first season of Outlast tonight. And to kick things off, I just want to invite my panelists here to introduce themselves. We'll kick it off with Rachel.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel. I am really excited. I just watched both episodes of Outlast, and I first got involved with orgs through Dustyn Pandora. So it's been really neat to kind of see some of those little Easter eggs of Pandora worked into Outlast, but obviously there's so much fresh game happening. But I'm really excited to talk about these big personalities that we have and watch everything unfold. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
Most of you know me as the host of all these cast assessments and drafts from before. So this is me. I get the easy job of just sitting back and talking and having Justin stop me when I talk way too much. In Outlast world, I did get to play the online version. Most notably, I was the first out of the entire series and whole run of it. So that was my game. I appreciated the experience, and I'm excited to sit down and talk about you fellow amazing people out there that played Outlast. So mad props to all of you. I'm excited to get down to it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I would say I'm a new Survivor fan, but not really. It's been already more than 2 years now. So my experience, I first started playing online reality games, and that experience was great. And then I said, you know what, I want to kick it up a notch, and I actually got the privilege to play my first live reality game, which was with Survival Challenge. That was in 2021, I believe. And I also got to go ahead and play Can You Survive? So I have 2 live reality game experiences under my belt. And I would say that it is definitely the next level. If you haven't done a live reality game, you need to do it. It's amazing. Highly recommend. Originally from New York. What's up, everybody? But I'm excited to be here. So thank you for inviting me, Justin.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right, Steven.
Hey, everyone. The first game I played, Dustyn actually was one of the hosts of back in 2017, Pirate Survival Expedition. And since then, I've had the chance to play a couple of games Justin has played, both Survival Challenge and Realfoot. When I'm not doing that, I do a lot of podcasting as well through live reality games. I've done a lot of deep dives for the Realfoot seasons, and I'm currently podcasting Surviving Bloomington.
Yes, that's so cool.
So we have a lot of expertise here as we evaluate our players. And really excited to have you all. Thank you all for being here and for joining us. Mike, who is one of our players, calls you all legends. That is very, very true. And sorry, Steven, every time I put up a comment, it
goes.
So sorry about that. Cool. So we're going to dive right in. First things first, I just want to, for those, in case there's anybody here who doesn't know about Outlast is a new live reality game. A live reality game is basically a mini or a smaller version of some of the reality TV shows that we know and love, like Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race. Outlast is a kind of spin-off of Survivor. We took a group of players from all over the country. We put them in the woods for a long weekend, about 2.5, 3 days. And they basically played Survivor for the weekend, competed in a bunch of different challenges, voted each other out, lived in the woods without any sort of hygiene products or food or technology. And we come up with a winner. That winner receives $500 as well as $500 to the charity of their choice. So they are playing for a little prize package, which is nice. And it was just a really fun adventure. It's something, I didn't really talk about it. I've played a few live games before, and I've always dreamed of starting my own here in the Massachusetts area. So it was really exciting to have this and create this and bring together what's a pretty epic cast. If I've got to be honest, for our first season, it was pretty wild, and we do have a little bit of everything in this first season. So we hope you'll watch. Our episodes are on Sundays at 8:00. I'll talk about this at the end again, but and I'll put up our YouTube channel so that you all know where to go to find us. But you can see it all unfold. We have a little bit of everything. So with that, we're going to dive right in. We're going to do all of this in alphabetical order, so everything's fair and equal and even, and no spoilers of any kind, no people guessing things based on the order of what's happening. It's all in alphabetical order. So first up, we're going to start with the Canoe Tribe. This is the tribe that wears purple in the beginning of the game, and it is comprised, just going left to right here, of Nick, Daniel, Eric, Allison, Nicole, Taylor, Eli, German, and Lori. All right, so that's the tribe we're going to start with. And we will kick off with Allison, again in alphabetical order. So I'll give a little bit of context and then let my panel here give us their thoughts on what they thought of Allison in these first 2 episodes. Allison's from Massachusetts. She has played Pandora, which was my online game, a couple of times, but this is her first real live game. She also played a musical theater version of Survivor that I put together like 5-10 years ago. I don't know what it was. We'll talk about that another day. But I was really excited when she was interested in this. I think she has been a fan of Survivor for a while, but this is the first time she's done anything like this. So, and she's just a ball full of energy. As hopefully y'all saw in the episode. She's very entertaining and just has a lot of positive energy. So any thoughts, group? I don't know who wants to go first on Allison.
I'll start. I think it's interesting, and she mentions that she's worried about having one of the stronger personalities in her tribe. I don't think that's going to be the case, given that we have, we have Eric on her tribe, we have Nicole on her tribe, Lori's on her tribe. I think she's going to be able to slide into the middle and figure things out from there.
I would like to just add that I just loved also. I mean, I can see why she thinks of herself like that, but I just want to add that her negotiation skills, like right in episode 2, were pretty good. She was like, no, we need this. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it is an interesting moment that stands out, right? So we have that. It's the last reward challenge, right?
Right.
It's the hero challenge, and she is a part of a negotiation to kind of decide the winner of that challenge. So that is one of the standout moments for her so far, right? Is that she's a part of those negotiations, as you said, Steph. She
Right.
kind of is vocal about what her tribe needs and what they're willing to kind of do and not do. So yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like she definitely speaks up, so I can't wait to see her for the rest of the season. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think her bubbly personality gives her, like, I think if someone else was in that wheeling and dealing role, it'd be like threat. But I think that Allison is going to be able to work it with her social game. People aren't going to be too concerned about it yet. I don't know. I feel like she can slide by with that kind of a big move for early game, wheeling and dealing, and like the power was in their hands. Like I don't know, and it worked great. I love seeing her. I think she comes off so natural. For this being a first LRG, you wouldn't have predicted that. Like you could have been like, oh, she's probably had a history, because she just comes off calm, natural. She's gonna connect with everyone.
I know that she was in the negotiation part of it, but I felt like that move, especially, it was like Kim's decision. Kim was like, I'm ready to be done with this. Let's go. But Allison did have some strong points, and she argued her points really well. I do feel like right now she's kind of middle of the road. She talks about having a huge personality, and we don't quite see that yet. And I think that's good, because everyone's coming into the season trying to hide their big personalities, and it's not working. We see confessionals from everyone like, oh, I'm going to play under the radar. Nope, I messed that up already. So Allison's playing a correct game. And I didn't know about her experience before too, so that kind of just adds a little bit more oomph to her and more possibilities of gameplay. So I'm excited to see how she goes further in.
Awesome. Great. Up next, we have Daniel. So Daniel is from New Jersey. He's played a couple of games that I know of. Stephen probably knows. Stephen's the encyclopedia of LRG, so I feel like he'll know it all. But I'm pretty sure he was a finalist in Buffalo, Survivor Buffalo. I think he talks. I can't remember. I have to be so careful not to spoil anything. I think he talks in a confessional about playing other games and getting far, but I don't remember, so I'm gonna shut up. But has a little bit more experience than Allison and some of the other players, and is our oldest male identifying player on the cast. So that's all the context I'll give, and I'll let it go from there. Why don't we go backwards? Dustyn, why don't you start this time?
Well, I'm interested to see how Michael in comments mentions legends, and then DeLucas also mentions legends. It was funny that Daniel points out another legend in this cast, that is Taylor. He was the only person that we've seen so far that knows Taylor's gameplay, having watched her play in Angelica just this last season. So I'm excited to see and interested if that comes up at all. We get back-to-back confessionals from Daniel saying, oh, I saw Taylor win. I saw her gameplay. And then next one, Taylor, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm going to play under the radar. Maybe nobody has seen this before. So I'm interested to see if those two will work together, especially from what we've seen so far. They're kind of not the biggest of personalities on their team, but they could work really well together as a partnership, I think.
I'm excited for that tea to spill when that happens. He also mentioned something about Eric and Nicole standing out, was one of the notes I had on him. So I'm interested to see how his perception of the game play kind of influences who he's going to align with or target as threats.
Yeah, like he's done right from the beginning. Like he did his like own cast assessment. I think we only got bits of it. I'm sure some of them were edited out, but he already pegged like who were the folks that were going to be the threats, the folks that he'll see and kind of in the bottom, and where he saw himself a little bit. So I don't know. Definitely got to watch out for Dan, because those actors, they get you.
I wonder if his ability to kind of take a step back and evaluate the game comes from his past experience with the games. But I think it'll be really handy, given that you can kind of slot in like who are people thinking about and where am I in relation to that. So I think that's going to give him really good stead with this tribe early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
He throws out Lori though, so boo already. Boo.
Like, no, not Lori.
Yeah, it's so funny as I edit these things. I'm like, how much? I mean, some people get pretty real and raw in their confessionals. I'm like, how much do I show? But I do think it's important to see those thoughts and see what they're thinking. And we love the in-game perspective, right? And even though sometimes our players, you'll see sometimes things get real rough, but it's entertaining, right? It's all about the entertainment.
I think most of us have been there. I don't know how dangerous the mole was, but we get pretty rough in these games sometimes.
We do. All right. That is Daniel. Up next, we have Eli. Eli's from Michigan. He is our youngest player at 22. To my knowledge, this is his only live game that he's ever played. And he drove all the way out to Massachusetts to play this, which was wild and exciting. So yeah, that's Eli. Thoughts?
Fellow Grand Rapian right here, Eli. I'm excited to see you play, and I'm excited. I already tried to find you on Facebook to say, hey, like, we need to, like, I don't know, meet up at some, like,
not
LRG
the stalking
thing. No. And it was just Grand Rapids, 40 minutes away from me. I'm like, and Survivor Grand Rapids is playing right now. So Eli, please welcome to the community, whether it be up in Manistee where we put on games or Grand Rapids Survivor. I'm excited to see how Eli does. And hopefully you stick around, Eli. Come on.
I think he will. I think Eli's gonna stick around. I don't know. He says, like, oh, I'm a 6'2". People probably think I'm like a tough guy, and but I'm not that type. And I was kind of like, Eli, I see you like a teddy bear. You're like, I think he's gonna do well in this, and I feel like we're so many big personalities on his tribe, and folks that are like, I feel like he's just going to be right in the middle for me.
Still, I mean, so I didn't. So I'm like 6'4", and it was interesting seeing him. And he's like, I'm 6'2". I'm like, man, it's so hard to read people's sizes from just watching the TV screen. But I can definitely say when you are that tall, like it does make it harder to hide. People in the other tribe are going to start having assumptions about it. Even if the rest of your tribe says, hey, he's easygoing and he's not a physical threat, people on the other side are going to have those assumptions that might haunt him in a swap scenario before they get to know him. And so I hopefully those expectations don't give him any issue later on.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting as you size up the two tribes, right? And if you're thinking like, if I'm on Wonkus, who am I going to just visually on the other side, who's going to appear as a threat to me? And him just being 6'2", being the tallest one over there, could automatically paint that, regardless of how he actually is, So yeah. Any other thoughts on Eli?
Real quick, he wore white shorts. They're going to get so dirty, Eli. I'm so sorry. You've never played a game yet, so...
It's true. You got to be very thoughtful about your wardrobe, future LRG players.
Mud-colored clothes. Can't go wrong.
You'll see a lot of black in the cast, but for some reason Eli got those white shorts on. All right. Up next, we have Eric. Eric, what can I say about Eric? So Eric is from Massachusetts. He had played the Genius Massachusetts, which I think he says in his.
He does.
Yeah. So I think it's a Korean.
What is a Genius? That's what I was like. What's the Genius?
Korean, even? So there's a game show called the Genius, and there's a bunch of different tasks you have to do, and you I think eliminate each other in some ways.
Okay.
I don't know about it, but it's another kind of live game, but not survival based, right? So
I thought it was like an IQ game. I was like, he's smart.
Game.
Yeah, so he played
heavy
that
on mental aspects.
Right. He played that and did win that here in Massachusetts. So has a little bit of confidence from that, of course, coming into this game, having win under his belt. Again, very tall, big human, big personality, which I think comes across in the episodes already. And yeah, I think, for me, kind of when I first learned about him, I was like, this is a must cast. Like, he's just such a dynamic and interesting human. And we want people who are going to be entertaining. And I think you can already tell he loves the camera. He loves to be, to give those confessionals and to be entertaining.
I feel like we've entered an era where it's okay to say you're a cop on Survivor. It's okay to say you're a lawyer on Survivor, but heaven forbid you say you're in sales on Survivor. Because Eric and like one other player say we're going to lie about being in sales. Saw on Survivor 43 players lie about being in sales. Is it really necessary to lie about your job like this? I don't know.
I don't know, but how many sales? There were at least 2 other salespeople, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of sales in this season.
There's also a lot of very smart people on this season that think they're very smart, and I kind of want to wait for them to have a humble moment. They're like, "Yeah, I'm very smart." I'm like, okay.
I agree with you, Stephen. I just feel like you might actually find definitely people that are in the same, industry as you. Mm-hmm. The challenge is that people just think, is a sleazy salesperson. Oh, this person's just going to sell me something. You know what I mean? And it has like that negative, the negative tone to some folks. So I can see how it can backlash a little bit, but you're right. I do think that, hey, there's a couple of sales folks here. And a lot of us have had sales jobs before in the past, even if it was for a month, telemarketing, you know what I mean? Like selling phones. I know I did in New York. Talk to me about phones and men's razors. I sold them for a year. So, but yes, I can definitely see why Eric and some other players are kind of like, yeah, maybe not. Let me change it up a little bit. Let me be a teacher.
But is he the cocky player you want to bring to the end? like his personality. He talks about how good looking he is, how smart he is, how athletic. Do you bring it to the end, or do you get kind of like, it's too much for me? Do you cut him after that?
I think he's dangerous because I think he's going to disarm people by being so over the top. When like he talked about like picking the coney one to stand at to try to be in the tribe, there's this level of cunning people aren't going to pick up on from him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if he can make authentic relationships. Like if he can take down the mask and build those one-on-one connections with people, that's gonna make him the actual threat, right? Because then if he can actually put that brain in practice and get some moves under his belt, but if he's really just more of a character type who thinks he's really smart but isn't doing as much as he thinks, I think that's going to be the answer to Dustyn's question. We'll have to see unfold, right? Like, will you want to take him to the end? Yeah, if he's just this funny character that believes in himself, he's not a threat. But if he's able to actually bring his guard down and have real talks and build trust with people, that's, I don't know. We'll have to see.
And it so much depends on how much of his confessional personality is different from his in-game, in-camp, in those one-on-one private conversation. Right. How much do those personalities differ, right? I think he's the kind of guy, especially where he has done video production in the past, he knows how to work it for the camera. And I don't get as much insight into his in-camp gameplay and what those relationships look like and how he adapts his personality to build those one-on-one relationships. So I think it'll be interesting to see how those two personalities differ.
That's a good point. Yeah. As a salesperson, I'm sure he knows how to switch it on and off and be adaptable. So I look forward to seeing him for sure in the season.
Awesome. All right. Up next, we have German. German comes to us from Florida. He also played a couple Pandora seasons. I believe this is his first live game, though. And yeah, I think my favorite my favorite quote of his from the first episode was, he can get in with the boys if he wants to. He can get in with the girls if he wants to. Right? Like, he just seems like he's very adaptable, and yeah, I just loved that approach. That first kind of kickoff to the game is, kind of saying he didn't really want to play with the boys. So he's coming in kind of feeling out his tribe.
I like his adaptability. Like, it's to come in thinking you're going to do one thing and then realizing, hey, this might not work for me. Let's switch it up a little bit. So that is going to be huge, like, advantageous going for him, because he's going to navigate that situation. And he already knows it. So good for him.
And I'm not sure if I missed how he ended up being the hero on episode 2, right? Am I right, Dustyn? I don't know if I missed it, or maybe it wasn't shown, but I thought it was interesting that he was he was the hero. So he either stepped up or was voluntold. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think we captured it. All we really got was that little glimpse of like Eric basically saying like he wasn't going to do it, and so he might have been voluntold as maybe the next,
right,
next
but,
physical
like, hey,
guy. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I don't think we captured exactly how he was picked there.
Yeah, he seemed like he was definitely like in his zone there. But I can see German being very, very adaptable, very like goofy at times when he gets comfortable, and he already has like you mentioned, like he can play with both, like with the boys and with the girls. So I think that's very advantageous of him.
I think he has options, and I think the fact he lost his vote as a result of his advantage visit, I don't think that's going to be an issue unless he somehow skips a lot of tribal councils, and then it ends up being an issue. But I think he'll be fine the first tribal council. Just he's Carlos's first victim.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick, because it's interesting, right? We have this negotiation where essentially Wonkus gives up that win, right? Gives it. And then as a result of that, German gets this potential advantage. Right. So I think it goes to show that every decision that you make in a game like this can have effects that you're not even aware of. Right. I'm sure I got some texts about how surprised folks were about that. A lot of people didn't know that that's actually happened. So they're seeing it for the first time in the episode, cast members. So you're German, you go to the Outlast opportunity. Which box do you pick? Let's just poll the audience real quick. Rachel, which box do you pick? You got a play Outlast. You don't know if you're the first person to get there or not. Which box do you pick, Rach?
Outlast.
Outlast. All right.
I would have had a similar thought process from that German gave. Like he gave it and I was like, yep, this tracks. And then I think he must have second guessed himself and just switched it at the last moment unless there was more thought that we didn't see.
All right. Dustyn, which box do you pick?
This game is called Outlast. Like, why not just go with that? Like, easy decision right there. Don't double guess yourself. Just go with it. That's the reasoning and stick with it. All
right. Steph?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm sure we're going to speak about Carlos, but I had the similar. I was like, wait, Outlast, what is it? I'll play it. What is it? Like, I was like, when you're in that situation, you're like, so, but definitely, I agree with Dustyn. I'm sorry, we're saying the same thing, Outlast, because I'm like, this is Survivor. This is the name of the game. This is what it's going to be. So I feel like it would be primed in my mind already to choose that. I don't know why, but it would.
Steven, you're going to stray?
I'm gonna go outplay simply as the safest as what I would expect. I would think that people would aim for that whip box because that sounds most extra steal something vote. And like you said, Outlast as the title of the game. So I would have gone outplay as the third option to see what was there.
All right.
I mean, maybe if you're later in the game and you get this, but not like you're in day one. You're like probably 3 hours into the game. The likelihood of somebody taking it, like
high enough in this case.
I thought it was a safe assumption. Like, I would have assumed, like, German, I'm probably the first one.
Yeah.
Given the reward challenges, which I loved the twist of that Dustyn production had, where no one's going to predict then, like, if Carlos has an advantage, that was just a beware advantage found on a challenge, whereas this was something more of, like, a reward and how German, I don't know. I'm interested to see then how the next person will get picked.
Mm-hmm. Can I just mention that some folks actually would go for Outlast because when you go and you invest in going to play a live reality game, some folks, you have to travel, you have to take off work. That first day, all you want to do is just make it. And then, I mean, I understand that, yes, there's no tribal right now. I mean, we went through rewards, but you just want to play as long as possible. So in your head, you're kind of like, girl, I need to be here another day because I cannot go home. I already took off work. I already paid a flight. Like, I'm not doing that. I need to stay here as long as I can. So it would be, I can see Outlast and I can see his reasoning behind it and other folks' reasoning behind like that. Like, especially that first day, for sure. You're not thinking like, oh, I need to outplay someone until, maybe day 2 or the third day, in my opinion. But definitely Outlast for that first day.
All right. Any other thoughts on German as a player? No? All right. Up next, we have Lori. Lori is from Massachusetts. She, at that point, was a retired, worked in the airline industry, was retired, but I think she's has since gone back to work again within the airline. She is our oldest player at 63, which I just think is such a badass thing to do in your 60s. She's just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to go play a game. And this is her first time doing anything like this. I actually met her at a Survivor finale event or something along those lines. She actually came and watched me play briefly in Surviving Maine. Sorry, she came briefly. I didn't play briefly, just to be clear. No spoilers. But she was there.
Comes out tonight, right?
First episode was tonight. That's right. So she, this is a brand new to her, and I was so excited again to, we think about diversity in these casts in a lot of different ways, and age is something that's very important to me. I want as many different ages and age groups as possible in these games. A lot of these games, it's a lot of people in their 20s, their 30s. and to have people in their 40s, 50s, 60s willing to play this game, I just think is so awesome. So I was so excited to have Lori a part of the cast. And I'll ask you for your thoughts on Lori. Dustyn seems very passionate about Lori, so we'll go to Dustyn.
Watch
first.
out for Dan is all I can say, Lori. You take him down, okay?
Hey, if she's a good listener, like she said she is, she'll pick up on it. That's my hope for Lori. I do not want to see a generic first boot for her. Like, she's got more. I'm rooting for Lori. I think she says I'm listening, and I know that can come off wrong if she's only listening, but I'm really hoping she can swing through and make those connections. She seems so personable. It's going to be hard for me to think she's not going to connect with someone.
I have to say, like, I slightly disagree. I feel like she has already like withdrawn herself and kind of said, like, I'm just going to observe. I'm just going to already seeing that. They're like sharks out there. They're trying to see who are the outliers, who's stepping back. And if people have already pegged her as that, it just makes it such a, like, not a lot of folks are going to step up and say, I'm going to save Lori as the first vote. And that makes it challenging. So I want to see Lori step up. I want to see her get involved. I know that in that puzzle, I believe in the second reward challenge, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong. She took a step back, but I kind of want to see her for the next challenge really take a step forward, and hopefully that would help her. But she has to step up, or if not, I feel like she's going to just be the first boot just because folks are not going to put their necks on the line for her if she doesn't make those strong bonds and doesn't step up in challenges, because people want to outlast.
Yeah, I like the fact that Lori is a Survivor fan and knows the game. You hear her talking about it. I think that's really important. She reminds a bit of Barbara from the most recent Real Foot season, so I think because of that, I think Lori's biggest ally is time. The more time she has in her tribe, the more her tribe can win with her on it. I think the more she's going to be able to ease herself from the tribe, and people are going to start looking to other options besides her. So I really hope that their tribe can win the first challenge or two, and she can really dig in deep in relationships with one or two people that can help move her forward in the game.
Great. Love it. All right. Up next, we have Nick. Nick is from Massachusetts. You'll hear me say that a lot. There's about half the cast is from Massachusetts, half the cast is from outside of Massachusetts. Being our first season in a Massachusetts-based game, that was something we kind of expected. This is Nick's first live game as well. He actually plays on my softball team. I kind of let him know about this through that. But this is his first live game. And I think he's a Survivor fan, but maybe not to the same extent that a lot of the other people are in the cast. But with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Yay, Nick, the competitive gay. Am I right? Yeah. It's so fun to watch him. I would say I don't know. I always have a good time when I'm watching Nick. It's like he's always doing something funny on camera. But no, I definitely thought he had like a strong introduction, and he seems like he would be able to connect with people. Like, unlike what we were saying with Lori, I think with Nick, it's kind of I feel like I've seen him in there, especially when he's back at his tribe at camp. So I'm looking forward to seeing his feistiness, because I don't know, I feel like there's going to be some claws coming out soon, so I can't wait, because I feel like they're going to come from Nick.
He's entertaining. I was surprised. So he said something like, Nicole goes up to him and says, "Are you ready to go hunting tonight?" And I was surprised. I know we're getting into Nicole, and he was like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Okay, it works. Maybe this is working for you." It seems like there would have had to have been more between them. Like, there's clearly a Nick and Nicole thing going on. I mean, was repeated a couple different times, but I don't know, it just seems like a bold thing to say, and for them to just go with it. Like, I'm ready to see them going idol hunting together, and I hope they don't crash and burn, but we'll see, because he's entertaining. I want to see more of Nick for sure.
But let's speak about I mean, as soon as Nick went ahead and he had to line up and pick a cone, I'm sure it was Nick, right? He went ahead, he stepped on that cone, he went ahead and looked at it, and he found something, right, Dustyn? So he's intuitive, so he's looking out. He has his eyes peeled for sure. So the boy is playing. He might be, I think we're gonna see Nick and Nicole, Nick and ex-player, Nick and this person, but he's keeping his eyes open. So I'm excited to see him.
Do you think he'll share about his idol clue, or do you think he'll keep it to himself?
I don't know. I feel like he might confide in someone that he might build a strong relationship with, and I'm nervous if that person's gonna stab him in the back.
I mean, he has some powerful information, because if the idols are hidden the same way at both tribes, and and we don't know if there's gonna be a tribe swap this season, but that could potentially put him in this. He has the potential of being in a situation where there's two idols if the other tribe just can't find their idol or can't get the clues to the idol. So that clue is a lot of power, and I wouldn't share if I was him. I'm really curious to see how he'll work with Eric this season, considering I don't know if they'd be allies or enemies. I think they're both looking to kind of play in a little bit of a similar manner. I don't know if they're gonna get along with each other in that regard.
I think it'll depend on Nicole, because if they're picking up that Eric and Nicole are going together, and then Nick and Nicole, like that could be an easy early first tribe 3, get them a majority rolling. But yeah, it could also be easily turn into a competition.
Yeah, I could see him sharing the idol clue per se if one of his allies gets stuck on the other one and goes on to the tribe, so he can share like, oh hey, I found a clue, look for the tree with the letter, take a few steps away and go for it. But my basic overall thing for Nick, I hope this doesn't come out wrong because I've been trying to phrase it in my mind correctly. It gets cold at night and he looks like he would be really warm. So I don't think I would vote Nick off anytime soon, especially like going into night. Just saying. It gets cold. You like lose energy shivering. So, final 2, Nick. Come on.
Oh, Nick had a good moment with Jazz too. I wrote in that one challenge. I think it was Mike who had the idea first, but I was like, these people are smart, where they make the one thing go really high, like they throw theirs up. I was like, I'm too stupid to think of that stuff, but yeah, Nick copied it with Jazz, and it was just a really cool edited moment.
Shout out to Bobby for being on all those calls too, Dustyn. Like, he is a great, they're outside the line. They need to step on that. Like, Bobby is on it in the background.
He is. I'm very lucky to have Bobby as part of this team. He's good with all the details. Awesome. Any other thoughts on Nick? Great. And Nicole. We've already talked a little bit about Nicole. Nicole comes to us from Minneapolis area in Minnesota. Funny thing about Nicole is literally the morning of the game, we were texting because she missed a flight, or her flight got delayed, or there was a cancellation. Like, we weren't sure she was going to play, and she made it just in the nick of time, which was terrifying. I met Nicole. We did I think it was like a Discord Survivor org or something weird and crazy, but she was one of the few people that I just really liked and connected with in that game. I believe this is her first live game. And she's just just a super fun human personality. So I knew that she would be a fun addition to the cast. Thoughts?
She's the ball of energy that Allison thinks she is.
All right.
I wonder if she's disclosing the fact she plays Quidditch, because Quidditch is a brutal game. All right, if she's trying to play down her physical capabilities, I would not tell a single soul I played Quidditch if that was the case.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll just note one interesting thing. I can't remember. I think at least in the marooning, right? She's the first person to go into the woods, right? So she's exemplifying that kind of physical kind of capability right away, right? Which I think naturally comes from being a Quidditch player, right? You're athletic, right? So I thought that was a really interesting. It was those little things, like who were the first people to run in the woods? It was John from Wonkus and Nicole, right? Those are people that are stepping up and in the first few minutes of the game are willing to say, yep, like I'm fast, I'm athletic, I'm willing to kind of dive right in. Which I think is just an interesting observation.
I don't know because she and Eric are the center of their tribe. I don't know. It doesn't sound like that was her game plan per se, but we'll be interested to see how she pivots or if she realizes that she is kind of the center of the tribe.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? All right, excellent. And I think last but not least, is that right? For Canoe, we've got Taylor, who we've already discussed a little bit. She comes from New York. She did just play Survivor Angelica, where she won. In that game, she played with her mom, Amy, who was one of our lovely volunteers, and even with like a broken foot, was hopping around and helping us, which was lovely. So I think, if I'm correct, I think this was Taylor's first time really playing totally on her own, where she didn't really have to think about somebody else, right? So this was her first kind of solo game, and comes into the game with that win in her pocket, which, as we've talked about, she doesn't know if anybody knows that. How will she use that information? If someone were to bring it up, what would she do? I guess I'll run another little poll here. Would you tell people that you won a game? Seems kind of obvious that you wouldn't, right? But does anybody think there's any benefit to saying you've won a game? Is there any benefit to it?
Maybe to be honest to that one person that knows that you won the game. You're gonna have to feel out like who watches these things on a regular.
Right. That's my concern, right? Is that if you're dishonest about it and the word gets out, then
like if you see Steven or myself, be like, all right, you have to fess up to us. Like we will know it.
You want to control the story, right? Think of your season of Real Foot Justice, people's past connections when they were unearthed by other players and spread around that really broke a lot of trust between them, right? Yeah. And so if she has any inkling or concern that people thinking I played, you just need to confess. Maybe don't see the winner to say, "Hey, everyone, I played Surviving Angelica, and I made it to the merge," or something like that. Like you can maybe couch it a little bit, but I don't know. It just depends on how concerned you are that people would know, and then if you are concerned, just get it out there and play around it.
And it's interesting because Angelica, I think, is a well-known game, but maybe not as well-known as some others. So there's probably some chance that nobody would know, right? So, when I went to play some games after Real Foot, I'm like, most people are probably going to know that I have won a game. So, like, I kind of have to be open and honest about it because it's just going to be known, right? And I tried to leverage that in like almost like a Sandra Diaz Twine way of like, no one would ever let me win again. Bring me to the end, right? Like, no one will ever vote for me to win. Like, try to leverage my strategy that way. You'll see if it works on Surviving Maine. Season 3.
I was gonna say, coming up tomorrow is Surviving Millennium Park. If you haven't watched that one yet, so
yes. I was really excited when Taylor applied because I did watch Angelica. I did watch her win, and I was curious. How do I put this? She's just not someone that you might think of as a typical winner because she is a little bit more introverted, right? And so, because so many of these games, what I've now observed in these first 2 episodes is she's very self-aware. She knows that her introvertedness could be tricky, right? So I think she's going into this game knowing that and has a plan to hopefully combat that.
Yeah, I was interested. She talked about playing a low key. I'm assuming she's going to try to do an under the radar type of game. So I was curious if that's how she played Angelica or if this is going to be different because she's won. She's going to try to low key things. Now she seems one of the people that will actually stay low key if she wants to. Like the other people are having trouble keeping themselves. She seems like a slow and steady, observant player.
Any other thoughts on Taylor? All right. I think, am I right? Yeah, that gets us through the Canoe Tribe. So we'll do a quick poll on this. Who would you want to work with the most if you were on the Canoe Tribe? I'm going to go backwards from the bottom up. So I'm going to start with Stephen.
Oh, don't do this to me.
Who's your number one if you end up on the Canoe Tribe?
Who is my number one? Honestly, it probably would have been Taylor.
Taylor. All right.
Yeah.
Steph.
I don't know. I just Eli, like something about that, 6'2", people will see him more than they see me, but then it seems like he's newish. I can, work with him a little bit. Definitely Eli.
All right. Dustyn.
I think I said it earlier. Like, Nick, you can keep me warm. It's okay.
All right. Nick and Rachel.
Man, I played Pandora with Allison, so it's hard for me to. I think I would play with her again easily. She's so sweet. But I also would love to play with German. That sounds fun too. So.
All right. And who would your first target be? We'll go backwards the other way now. Who's your first target? Who's your biggest threat? Who are you going to take out first, Rachel?
Oof. I feel like it would be very hard to manage, but this is ideal world, right? I think Eric will just annoy me. Like, I'm ready to give the pie. Like, all right, see ya, bye. But I want to see him play, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't have to deal with that, so.
Dustyn,
I don't think, Rachel, you saw that last comment. Eric just got here, so.
Great first impression.
Dustyn, who's your first target?
I do think it's probably going to be Daniel. Like, had I arrived in this tribe, I would have known that Taylor would have won. Had Daniel expressed like he's concerned that Taylor has won before and keeping that a secret, I could use that. So I'm going to go with Daniel.
Okay.
Try to swing it away from Lori. I think Lori would be a great ally in the future.
Steph, who's your first target?
I have to say, like, I need someone to back me up. I need people to, like, come fight for me. And I feel like Dan would do that. Nick would do that. German would do that. I just don't know if Lori would hold me down. Girl, like, if I'm not there by the water well, are you going to have my back? I just need more oomph. So I feel like I would take a chance with some other folks. I just need someone to be a little bit more expressive. So I can't wait to see Lori, go ahead and be a little bit more out there. But yeah, that's sorry, right. Dustyn.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry.
Steven, who's your target?
As a 6'4" guy who's looking to play a social game and sucks at challenges, I find Eli very threatening as somebody who would be playing a very similar game as me. And so I think it's always a concern that when you have someone who's just like you on your tribe, I don't think you want that because you don't want people to see you as exchangeable or replaceable. So.
All right. That is the Canoe Tribe. Up next, we have Wonkus wearing orange.
There's a lot to discuss here.
There's a lot to discuss. First one is Carlos. There's a lot to discuss here. Carlos comes from Texas. He and I played Reelfoot together. I cut this clip, but he says that I bullied him in Reelfoot. I did not bully him. I want to be clear.
Have you not watched any of your games back, Dustyn? Come on.
I watched clips. I don't know. He said we had a conversation where I was basically like, don't talk or you're going to be the next person voted out. I don't remember saying those words. I don't feel like that would come from me.
Thank you, Lori, in the comments. Thank you.
Oh, Stephanie.
Thank you, Lori.
So we have Carlos. So he has played some other games. So he comes in with some LRG experience. And yeah, I'll put it out to the group. Obviously, there's a couple of big moments with Carlos, notably the Outlast opportunity. Did not happen, Carlos.
How did that happen? Like when he got back to the tribe, we didn't see the cut on that, Dustyn. He runs out and he's like,
so
I got nothing.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, he says it a little bit. I think when he goes back out to his tribe, he basically said, I couldn't find anything, and I just didn't want to waste time. I don't know.
And everyone seems to just take it. I mean, it's so early in the game, and the adrenaline's high, and maybe people just aren't thinking that there's other things that survival items. He gets away with it, which is awesome.
I mean, he gets away with it so far, and yeah, there's no confessionals that I know of where anybody suspects anything.
I agree. I thought to myself, I was like, oh, maybe maybe folks are thinking about it back at camp. Maybe they're dissecting it and they're gonna say it in like episode 3 or something like that. Because I just feel like he said it himself. He's like, I was third up, and I didn't have anything. I mean, how could it be if people are finding spoons on the floor, in a lantern? So I don't know, Carlos. I'm kind of concerned about you for episode 3. I feel like someone's probably gonna pick that up. And then I also thought, like, there was two. There were a player from each tribe running, so I was thinking, oh, maybe can someone validate, like, hey, there was actually something there, he just didn't pick anything up, So yeah. I was curious about that.
Yeah, it doesn't really come up to my knowledge. So yeah.
He's a smooth
maybe that's good.
So I feel like he'll be fine. I played with Carlos too in Pandora, and like the big thing I remember about Carlos is like everyone said, yeah, I'm good with Carlos, and everyone generally felt good with him. So I just feel like he has one of those great social games. And then it seems like him and John are going to hook up a little bit and have a little duo there.
I'm concerned about that duo, honestly. I just feel like John is a big personality, and I feel like maybe by Carlos working with him, and that's what, and Carlos mentioned it. He said, one of the things that I often do in games is that sometimes I just go ahead and I'm working with like this one type of player. Like I just want to be more versatile, right? And work with other folks. And I hope that in the next couple of episodes, we're able to see him kind of steer away from John a little bit and build relationships with other folks, which I'm sure he's going to try to do, but it needs to be genuine. And if he's with John, we'll speak about John in a moment, but I think it could point a target on him.
I do like the fact that it seems like Carlos has internalized and learned from his previous games. I don't know if between Realfoot and Outlast, if Realfoot was the previous game he played. I'll be curious because there's a theory that people play like the winner of their season, so maybe they'll play a little like Dustyn this season as a result.
He would never admit to that. And
because I think one of the challenges he had in his Realfoot season is he was good with his tribe, but he wasn't solid with his tribe. And so that's why he ended up being a target in that merge vote. And so I really hope he's doing like he says, where he doesn't just invest on one person, but can spread out more and can get in with more people to be better integrated.
Yeah. I think
I don't know if he believes me, but sorry, Rachel. I don't know if he believes me, but the whole reasoning behind his Realfoot vote around the merge was just people didn't know where he stood, right? He seemed like too much of a wild card for the alliance, the Carleton Alliance. Not that we have to like rehash Realfoot, but right. So we had this 7-person Carleton Alliance, and we wanted to find a person to vote out that we kind of. He felt like too much of a risk, right? Because we didn't know where he stood, where we knew where the other people stood and who they were working with, where he felt the most kind of in the middle and could be a threat to the alliance that we had because he had relationships and he kind of seemed like he would be willing to play with other people. And we wanted to kind of eliminate that threat of a kind of a flexible player.
I feel you, Carlos. I get that all the time.
I always say one of the things that really gets you by in games and LRGs or orgs is really tell people how you feel and tell them where your head's at, because if folks have to go ahead and fill in those blank spaces, then that's not a good thing. So I do feel like Carlos has probably reflected on that, because I remember I saw Realfoot. I was following like Dustyn like a diehard, and I recall Carlos like after his vote out. He was, like, dang, they got me. And I feel like he went back and he definitely worked on some of the things that he needed to be successful in this game. So I can't wait to see it.
Did you get to do a deep dive with him?
I did.
How was he like reflective on it?
I mean, like I said, I think honestly, Dustyn kind of nailed it. Where he had that flexibility, but he wasn't in the kind of that core group, and people weren't clear where he was in that, and that made him just a very dangerous and an easy target come merge. I mean, he had a hard Realfoot game though. He was constantly under threat for a large portion of the game, though.
Which I think, to try to bring it back to Outlast, I do think that hardens you a little bit, right? Or it helps you in your next games where you're like, you can learn. It's learning, but it's also like trying to correct what you've done in the past, right?
Right.
And
the last thing I'll say is he has a steal vote. If he's ever concerned, tell your tribe you have. That is one of the most powerful advantages in a pre-merge Survivor. Like, if you tell people I have it, everyone's going to want to be on this swap tribe with them. So I don't think he's going anywhere because of that.
Yeah, steal a vote is gold. Like, it's like immunity idol, steal a vote. I don't know. That's
and we did this season. I hope it was obvious, but it's a secret steal a vote, so the person doesn't even know that you stole it, right? So
I did notice that, right? I was like, that's great. Yeah, Carlos.
So something about Carlos too is it says like student, but like I read some of his stuff that he's not just like a student, right? Like, he's really up there in his student, like he's trying to get PhD. So
yeah. Oh, he's a very advanced student for sure. Yeah.
Like, so it's just like it's going to be easy for him to downplay, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to school, business degree, like something generic. But he's got psychology major. He's going to be able to read these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Carlos? All right. Next, we have David. David's from Massachusetts. This is his first live game. As he says, at least once or twice in the first couple episodes, right? He tells people he's only been watching Survivor since COVID, but he's a longtime fan. Someone's dog. And one thing that's really, really cool is that David comes into the game with a pretty significant hearing disability. So he wears hearing aids. He'll talk about that more throughout the season. But I was really intrigued to see like how that plays in the game, right? Like it is like being able to hear people is an important piece, right? Of being able to kind of observe conversations, hear from a distance, but also like he might have the ability to read lips better than some other people, right? So there could be an advantage there in a way too. So I was really interested to see if that would play a factor in the game at all. And I also it was cool to see that he was very open with his tribe right up front with it, right? It was just kind of all cards on the table about that. So that was a cool thing to see. And the fact that his tribe just kind of embraced that without any concern, right? So what are our thoughts on David?
These games are short, and I don't think there's a lot of value to hiding your fan of Survivor. I mean, anything you can do to make friends with people, and the easiest things you all have in common is Survivor, because you're all playing a Survivor game in the wilderness. That is, I think, the top tier super fandom as it comes. And so because I remember when I played Survival Challenge, I tried to dial it back, and I regret that. I wish I had been able to have conversations about raw pits of progress with other players versus like, oh, what if they think I'm more of a fan than I am? Just go for it. Be exuberant. Everyone else is too.
I'm very interested to learn more about exactly how that deal went down with David and Kim, because he was making it all like, oh, I'll drop, but like I feel like he was gonna drop pretty fast. Like German had it. So it was kind of like a facade. Like it was a great social move for them to try to build relationship with other team players, thinking ahead. Like if there's a swap, we have leverage or connection with them that can come into play later. Like German can feel indebted, or Allison can feel particularly good with. But it just seemed interesting. Like I know Justin said it was a lot of Kim. Anyway, I just felt like David was going to drop those things, right? Like that he wasn't lasting much longer. They had to make that deal pretty fast to pull it off as like a play versus him just dropping them.
How long was that challenge, Justin?
It's a great question. I don't really remember. I mean, David was holding on to those for a very long time because I think it's kind of obvious, but Lizzie was sick, so she was sitting out. So they had much more distance to cover with less people. And so they were really struggling. I mean, I think they would have struggled with the bags anyway, because they had a couple people that weren't very good at tossing. But it made it even worse that they had one less person, right? So just getting the bags down to German was really hard for Wonkus. So David was up there for a very long time. I don't know how at risk he was, Rachel, of like actually dropping. He did have a significant amount more weight than German did.
He seemed locked in and comfortable to me, and in fact, I think it was interesting that that David was there. He was with Kim, because my understanding is that I think Kim pegged him as like someone that she would work with. Am I right? So it seems like to me like David is making connections with people, and one of the things that I feel like works in David's favor is that he was so open about, you know, his hearing, and that folks would feel like, wow, you know, he just opened up to me about something, you know. In these games, I feel like when you play these games, you want to know people and you want to know who they are as a real person, and anything like that is just it just wins folks over, and folks start speaking to you about some of their, you know, maybe limitations or some or about themselves. So I think he's at a great advantage in that he was very forthcoming. And I think folks are going to really gravitate to him. And I can see Kim is already wanting to work with him. When I was looking at the videos, like I saw Carlos around him, I saw John around him. So I feel like I see folks around him more than other people in that tribe. So just observation.
Any other thoughts on David? Here's a quick question for the group. Do you feel like stepping up to be the hero for both German or David puts too much of a spotlight on them early in the game? Is that something that as a player you would be like, ooh, like I got to watch out for that guy?
Not the first time, just the second time.
I'm less concerned about giant endurance challenges in a live game versus the real Survivor.
Yeah, it depends on what the challenge would be per se. Am I doing a puzzle? Am I doing endurance? Like he's probably, like he admitted it, he's not the great thrower or catcher, so might as well put him something he's good at.
All right. Next up, we have Jazzy. So Jazzy is from Maine. She played Surviving Maine season 2. Was very entertaining. If you've not watched that season, definitely go watch. She is a main character for sure. And I was really excited to have her be a part of Outlast. And you know, confessional gold. That's all I can say, right? Like she much like Eric and some other folks we have, right? Like she just gives it all to the camera. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Jazzy.
I admire the fact she memorized Instant Standing. That's been on my to-do list. The fact she did it, I am in awe of that, because that challenge can take so long and if you don't know what you're doing. And so I'm glad her tribe listened to her. I am curious to see who will come out on top in the her versus John, if that's something that simmers or that's something that actually sparks into a fire very early on.
Oh, it's gonna spark, no doubt. Like I followed Maine, it's gonna spark. Jazzy's like, I'm not gonna play over the top. You already are. So I do think Stephen and I had a moment just before the podcast started. I was like, winner pick right here. Totally all about the edit, Justin. You have like one champion. Like she's doing like fire. It looks like I'm right there. Like Jazzy for the win. So just say it.
Jazzy is definitely a force to be reckoned with. I loved how in the beginning, like she mentioned the you know, like what type of game she was going to play. And then she quickly saw that, you know, just in a couple of hours, she said, folks are talking to each other more than they're talking to me. Reverse. We got to fix this. And I really got to, you know, push it forward. And she did with coming through with that reward challenge. And I think that she now has like that buy-in from some folks, like, hey, if another challenge comes about, like we need someone that's good at puzzles, you know. But of course, folks are already kind of saying like, oh, she's good at puzzles, gotta watch out for her. So I'm curious to see how she goes ahead and balances, you know, how how she does in challenges. You know, is she gonna just step up all the time, or she's gonna take a step back? You know, moving forward. So, because she was there in the spotlight for a little bit, and then in that what was it called? It was the idol holder.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Right. She was there for a little while, and like from my experience, when you're in a challenge and you're there for a long time, like that just leaves people just sitting there watching you, and that's not always good. Probably one of the reasons I got voted out of an LRG once, because I was, you know, going ahead and pushing it through. But she was there for a while, so I just, even though she wasn't the main person like that, went ahead and like saved the, you know, she wasn't the main person in that challenge. It was just, she was there for a while. So I'm always curious of, you know, how much time she's getting being out there in the spotlight.
I forget, Rachel, were you in Pandora at all with Jazzy? Did you?
Yep.
Did
I
you?
have not played with any of these players. Rachel, you play with all.
I know, it just so happened. Yeah, it's really, I would say it's fun to watch Jazzy. Like I like being on this end of seeing the chaos brewing. I wrote beanbag gymnastics Jazzy in my notes. She had like a really good edit with like, I don't know what she was doing. And then I feel like she's gonna totally start using the fact that she specifically said, well, she's mad, rightly so. Like, I have this challenge memorized. I mean, they could have had won it way earlier if they had just listened to her. And I wonder if maybe it was because she didn't have those one-on-one relationships yet. They didn't want to listen to her. There wasn't trust there. But she narrowed in on John specifically. And so it's like, she's going to be saying that to people like, man, John really doesn't listen. John's going to want to just play this game. He's not going to want to listen to you. He's going to want to run the show. And then he's going to be with these other big players. Like, we got to get something where we're in charge. Like, I can just see it. I'm ready to watch.
All right. Any other thoughts on Jazzy? All right. Great little segue into John. So John comes from New York. I think John has played a few live games out there. I don't know what's released and what's not, so I don't want to spoil anything. So I think John has some LRG experience, and yeah, he is. I think he's one. No, that's not true. Never mind. I was gonna say I think he's one of our older players, but he's only I think like 32 or something.
You say 30 is not old.
He's like our second oldest male identifying player, though, which I think is funny. That's what I was like trying to work out in my head. But anyway, so thoughts on John?
I've played with John. I am a big fan. I played with him in Mole, Ohio. In my first season that I played, and I just played, we didn't get to connect, but in Columbus Survivor. So I love watching him as a player. He comes off really confident in his, that's the kind way to put it, in his confessionals, but I don't, like, when as a player playing with him, he doesn't have that same vibe. So I don't know if he was clearly able to dial it back and hopefully make some personal relationships. But I think people are probably, he's played so many LRGs, someone's going to know he's done well or has the experience. So it's going to be difficult for him to navigate that, I think. But I hope he does well. Big fan.
It's interesting hearing him talk a little bit about his past experience where he wants to observe more and control less and really perform versus how he's played before. And so he can talk the talk, but will he walk the walk? And I think, I know he also says, I won't be right with John. So I have to wonder how much he realizes the conflict with Jazzy might become a thing more than he's expecting, because Jazz is clearly thinking about it, but we haven't heard from him about that. He probably maybe didn't realize what was going on. So I think he'll be very indicative to see how he handles the fallout from that.
I mean, I have Kim, David, Mike, John as a possible 4, and then I have John and Carlos as a duo. So it's like he might be able to have if he has a strong 4 and then some other duos going, it might. Now, I'm not saying that is a 4. I'm just saying that was someone's interpretation that I wrote down, putting those connections. So, like, if he's insulated enough, he might not have to worry as much of what Jazzy's gonna put out there, but we'll see.
I just had a thought. What if Jazzy and John? No. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think there is something to that, though, right? I think there is something to aligning yourself with people that maybe people wouldn't expect, or that people like where there is some friction because people are not going to see it as maybe as a tight a duo as people where it's like
right,
you're in love, you know. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought.
I'm always a big fan of people that like share your posts, Dustyn, for Outlast, like your comments, and John does a great job of like promoting your stuff on here. So mad props to that. So because you know these games all like need that support, and John, you do a great job. So thank you for that, even for the community. Jazzy is another person that posts a bunch of stuff too. So anybody that's playing, like, make sure you share the videos, do everything you can, bring people here, bring this community alive more. Thank you for all the work that you put in, folks. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Less sentimentally, I was thinking of if I was gonna be able to choose the episode of Survivor, I had 2 lines that stood out to me. One, I can't remember. Someone else probably does. It's "What if I have headband hair?" That was classic. And then, but John's "Leave a spleen on the field." Like, is that gonna be like, are we gonna have a med vac? Like, is that that foreshadow? Leave the spleen on the field.
Yes. Yep. Those are 2 very memorable lines. The first one is from Eric. Yeah, he's upset about his headband hair. Yeah. All right. Up next, we have Kim. So Kim is from Mass. She and I played Millennium Park season 1 together. She was basically my number 1. Go back and watch that season. It is epic. And I was really excited to have her come and play this. So Millennium Park was her first game. Millennium Park is very challenge and strategy based. There's no actual sleeping outside and survival elements, right? You kind of go play the game for the day, you go home, shower, sleep, and then you go back to the park the next day if you survive to play the rest of the game, right? So I was interested to see how she would do in a survival where she's actually in the woods and sleeping and all that stuff. So I was really excited to be a host and watch her play after playing with her. So it's a little bit of a unique dynamic. I just like love her intro video about like she hopes everyone's ready. She just has like this like evil, I don't know, like this. I love it. I love her whole vibe of how she plays to the camera sometimes. So thoughts on Kim?
I would say, like, if there was a person that I could put my money on, I would say it's Kim. She's adaptable in tune. She makes, like, I feel like she goes ahead and tells people, like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to do in a way that people will buy into it, and it makes sense. It's and I can see that she's already starting to sow her seeds because, as you know, she's already pegged. She already had like side conversations with a few folks in her tribe, and I think that those are all setting her up for a possible merge. And because they already have people lined up, like if you already have your group, that's all you need. And then you can move forward. And I think she's able to go ahead and build relationships very well. I feel like I've watched her play Pandora, if I'm not mistaken, and those are the vibes that I got from her. But I just want to say that this photo here on my left, or maybe you're right, she looks like Laura Croft in Tomb Raider. So she looks like she's ready to. She's definitely ready to go. But yeah, I'm definitely a Kim fan. I'm a Jazzy fan. But as well, I would say like Kim is definitely a winner pick for me.
Yeah, we love a strong female player, right? But people are so threatened by strong females. I just hope, I think she's going to be fine. I think she's going to navigate. But people would be foolish to overlook her threat level, I think.
I think if I had to choose between coming off as too strong or too weak at the beginning of the game, I'd rather come off as too strong. And I'm really curious when she's like, I want to, how she says, I want to strategically show weakness. I don't know what that looks like. And so I'm really curious to see if she does anything to that regard to play down the role. Maybe the answer is you show weakness by just stepping back and being quieter. But I'm curious to see how that will manifest for her.
She ran Millennium Park. Come on, Justin.
She did, and that's
yeah. So I'm excited to see her dominate this game. Like her personality, she's like ruling it to like the finals at least. I think so.
And I think she has good shields in front of her. I think John is a good shield for her, and she knows it. I think she's able to identify that are going to be shields for her and who are going to help her get to where she needs to be. As you saw, she said, she's thinking about strength. She's thinking about winning challenges. She wants to get to the merge. She's playing like, this is like life or death right now. Like this is her survival life. So when you have that, mentality, you're just a shark. So I really have, I'm looking forward to seeing Kim.
Any other thoughts on Kim? All right. Up next, we have Lizzie. Lizzie and I played some org together. She was one of my only allies. She was the best. She was lovely. And I was so excited that she was going to come out and have this be her first live game. So very, very excited. She's such just like a fun, bubbly personality. So I was really excited to have Lizzie in the mix. Thoughts on Lizzie?
I found Lizzie so captivating. Like I couldn't stop smiling. Like if you are watching a confessional from Lizzie, you're just smiling because she's so pretty. But yeah, definitely. The first impression I got from her that she definitely had a bubbly personality, as you mentioned, Dustyn. I would have definitely picked her as someone that will make it like under the radar and far in this game, and also like build connections with people. I know that she wasn't feeling too well, so I'm kind of like rooting for our girl to get back on her feet. Maybe she needs some Pedialyte or something. I don't know what you guys gave her. Angie, what was it? But I'm hoping that she gets back on her feet because I am looking forward to her going further in the game. I'm not sure how much further she's going to make it in the... I feel like if she maybe makes it to the pre-merge, she'll go far. But I'm just a little concerned about the pre-merge for her. Based on this last episode too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us know that those elements are rough. I think Lizzie might have went into this game with like so much energy. She like maybe got too warm or something and wasn't drinking enough water. I don't know about Lizzie if you have a ton of like outdoors experience. Maybe just drink your water. Stay hydrated. Because I just adore Lizzie. So much personality. I think definitely not under the radar. Anything she says is going to be 150% all the time. Excited to see her play. And I hope she gets better. Like that Pedialyte or Gatorade. Like I think the team won the Gatorade, I think. So she needs a little bit more fuel to get going. So.
Yeah, I think there are like two iconic intro videos. One was Eric's, and the second was Lizzie's with the cutoff scream at the end of it, which I'll always remember. I don't know. I guess for me, I always have a paranoia about wearing a graphic T-shirt because I've been staring at a T-shirt. I'm like, what does it mean? Apparently, it's a song lyric, and so that shows how musical literate I am. So I don't know. I was just like for like wearing it. She is messing with. She is kind. I was wondering if there's people who don't know it's from a song in our tribe working like what does it mean? What like reading maybe too into it. I don't know, but I hope she recovers. And I hope she has time because I think the more time she has, the better she'll do in this tribe.
All
I
right.
think it comes off as someone you could trust. Like if I'm playing with Lizzie, I'm like, I can trust her. She like, I don't know. I would be more likely to trust her than some of the other big players. I think the hard thing for Lizzie is there's just these very big personalities that she's on a tribe with, and I don't know if that's gonna make it more difficult for her, but I hope, like, I think if she gets in a swap, like, I can see her mending and being flexible. So I really hope she recovers too. And I've never heard Natalie White was such an interesting take, because I don't think I would have like been like, yeah, Natalie White game. So I'm interested to see if that unfolds in this Outlast season.
All right. Up next, we've got Mike. Mike is from Connecticut, also in sales, but not telling people that. I think he was the other one that I think mentioned that. Yeah, and what are our thoughts on Mike?
I think he likes Erica's game from season 41. I think he likes just saying he's a lion disguised as a lamb, or a sheep in his words.
Yes.
Yeah,
he talked a lot about wanting to blend. I don't think he's going to blend. What do you think? Do you think he's a blender?
I mean, he's trying. He's not telling anyone he's in sales, so he's doing his best to blend in. So there's a concerted effort to blend.
I think I already mentioned he's the one that first did it with German with his big athletic move. So maybe I don't know if that was a standout strategic move that people started mimicking to help them win that reward challenge.
I think he's blending pretty well, to be honest. Like, he's not doing anything like over the top, not too standoffish. We see a little bit of him in some circles as well. I think he's played a good first round game, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a huge standout. You're right, Dustyn. Like, I'm trying to remember those moments with him but I just can't. So that's a good thing for now, I guess. So we'll see.
You can blame the edit on that. Maybe the editing is just terrible. Yeah.
Blame the editors.
Yeah, it's interesting. We, I think a couple of you mentioned, right? You've talked about, Kim's working with these guys and these guys, Carlos and John. There's all these things, and like Mike's name isn't really in that mix too much yet. So I think it's interesting to see what's going to come of that. If he is truly blending in, or if he's kind of forgotten about, right? And people move on without him. So
I can see Jazzy scooping him up and, as one of her allies. Like, I think Jazzy's really good at getting people together. So I just can see Mike possibly being a person that she's going to work closely with.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Mike? I will say, just outside the game, Mike is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So I hope he does more live games and more people get exposure to him, because he's just one of the nicest dudes ever. Yeah. So I knew a lot of the people going into the game, but I didn't know Mike at all. So it was really nice to meet Mike. All right, Sandra. Gosh, I love Sandra. Sandra is also from Mass. She's a part-time bartender. And our oldest person on this tribe. I love her shirt, number one. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Sandra.
I want to know which Spartan races she competed in. Is she doing the big ones, the medium ones, the small ones?
Steven, they're Spartan races. You gotta say Spartan.
Oh my gosh, that's my first note, is the accent. I love it. That's the first thing I wrote down. I think about her, I would be as forthright about this as possible, because you want to signal like, hey, I am athletic. Do not look at me as a physical weakness, because I am here to compete.
I could listen to her all.
And you definitely lost me. I like Froze. So sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, there. Am I good?
I think you're back now.
Okay, but yeah, definitely Sandra is a standout to me. She is not showing any weakness out there. She's, rumbling in the jungle. I just, it hurt my soul though, Sandra. I'm just gonna tell you, it hurt my soul when you sat on that bench, and I was like, it's right there under you, girl. Just reach, knowing that you can. And I've had those moments too because I've been like idol hunting in the woods, and like I can't see, and it's probably in front of my face. So I just thought like, wow, I can't wait until Sandra goes ahead and looks at this and she realizes that she sat on the bench that had a clue of some kind, maybe. But no, definitely a huge fan of Sandra personality. I think that she's going to, she knows a lot of places over there in Massachusetts, or is she from Boston specifically? Like, I think she's going to be speaking to people about all the good restaurants and everything. She's going to be connecting very well with everyone. I would say that she's adaptable, great conversations for sure.
Yeah. Do we have a sense of who she's lining up with yet? I didn't have anything that I picked up on. I was curious.
Sandra's probably going to talk a lot at night. So we haven't gotten that episode yet. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't think there's been too much in the episodes yet about who she's looking to work with or who she's working.
I'm excited to see.
When she unwinds, with a nice cup of
Gatorade.
warm, of room temperature water.
Yeah. Part-time bartender. She definitely is going to be great at conversations with people from everybody. I know they only got Gatorade and water, like we just said, but still, like after a long day, some Gatorade, little electrolytes, people start talking, I think.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Any other thoughts on Sandra? All right. Up next, we have Stephanie. Stephanie is from New York. I know she's played Buffalo in the past and maybe one other game. I can't remember. So yeah, thoughts on Stephanie. Maybe we'll start with Stephanie. From one Stephanie to another.
Name twin. Hello. So I have to say, like, I get really good vibes from Stephanie. I think she's like in the middle of the pack for me. One of the things that always stands out, as I think it was Steven mentioned in regards to graphic shirts, I was like, oh, University of Buffalo. I just thought to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this girl to really pick it up a little. I mean, she was having great conversations with folks, and she was very personable in her confessional, and she had a great energy. I haven't seen that in the tribe. I'm not sure if any of you noticed it yourself. So I can't wait to see what she does for the next couple of episodes. But she's in the middle of the pack for me.
Yeah, episode 1, I don't recall much what Stephanie did, but looking at episode 2, I was like, who is she? Like, she's got the tattoos going on. I was like, okay, I'm liking her. The more I see her, the more I like her. So, editor, if we can get more Stephanie, please. I would not be opposed to that.
Yeah, I think so. One thing that we do see early is she talks about, I think why this stands out for me. She talks about going into the game, wanting to make friends and, not wanting to lie or backstab. So I'm curious your thoughts. Like, is that, what kind of approach is that in a game? Like, is that an approach that you think can be successful in a game where you're playing with a lot of people that are going to be cutthroat?
Yes.
I think there's still a lot of merit to playing that way. It has its own challenges, but I agree.
Yeah,
I think so. I feel like it gets you votes. It gets you jury votes. If you're standing next to someone who has been playing like a really, shady game, backstabbing, if you're able to go ahead and state your case and you speak about integrity and playing an honest game, I think you can get by with that. And she has such a great personality that if she sits to someone who's opposite of that, I think she has a good chance of doing well and getting those jury votes. That's what counts at the end, right? You have to win over the jury, and I think she'll be able to do that playing that game. Yeah, and if folks are not bitter, so if folks are bitter of someone else, then they're more likely to go sway to her. I mean, not vice versa.
Right. Any other thoughts on Stephanie?
I love when her tribe is getting together, sharing strengths. She says creativity. I think that's a great trait, and one people aren't going to register as a threat long term. But I think creativity, there's a lot of room for it to do well in Survivor.
That's
When
true.
she said that, Stephen, I thought she was gonna make a hidden immunity idol. I swear to God. I said, I was like, oh no, she's like creative. She's gonna make it an idol out of beads. But no, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's something that's kind of middle of the road, right? It's kind of one of those things where, like, you can, if you say your strengths are athleticism or puzzles, those can both be kind of threatening, right? Strength or smarts. Creativity is somewhere kind of in the middle, right, where it's not super threatening, but I think it's still valuable. So
Yeah, I think it's like John Cochran's timing, right? It's like something that seems innocuous first glance, but is important.
Yeah.
If only they got competitions for the best flag. You already made it.
Yeah.
They would have rocked it.
All right. Up next. I think we're almost. Oh, we're done.
Yeah.
Hooray! It's only an hour and a half. That wasn't that bad. All right, we'll do the same thing. I need who's your number one? If you were on Wonkus, who would you go to as your number one ally? First, we'll start with Rachel.
I'm going with my boy John. I'm
John,
sorry.
all right.
And
Dustyn.
I think I'm going to go with Stephanie. I really like her vibe so far, even though I didn't get a ton of her the first episode, but I feel like second episode I really connected with her, just personality, and I think like we would work really well together.
Nice. Steph.
I'm gonna go with Carlos on this one. I feel like I've seen Carlos. We're having good conversations. I could see us vibing together for sure. And I'll definitely have some folks on the side, but he'll definitely be the person that I'll be loyal to in the game.
All right, Stephen.
There are like 4 different players I know I'd want to work with. I think it'd have to be Kim. I think Kim would be the person I'd be gravitating to the work with at the start of the game. Jazzy's in second place after that.
Nice. Awesome. All right, who's your number one target on this tribe? You're on this tribe. Who are you voting out first? We'll go backwards. Stephen.
Probably John.
John. All right.
Probably side with Jazzy.
Steph.
It would probably, if I could pick a target, it would probably be Kim. She's such a huge threat, and I just want to play like her. I know she's my winner pick, but it's because I'm not there. If I were there, girl, like, you gotta go. And then everyone else I definitely work with, but for sure.
All right, Dustyn.
I agree. Having seen Kim's game before, Kim is an amazing game player. Like, if there's any opportunity, either we're working together, Kim, or we're gonna be like, so please work with me in the future. I'm saying, like, I don't want to vote you out, but if the instance is, if your name comes up, and I'm like, okay, guess we're gonna go with Kim. So, yep.
All right, Rachel. Who's your target?
I'm gonna say whoever is Kim's number one, I will go for. I will save Kim for later.
Ow.
All right. Good stuff. That is the Wonkus tribe. All right, we're just gonna wrap up with 2 quick things. So thank you all for those who've been listening and watching and will be watching in the future. We hope you enjoyed this cast assessment. The last thing I'm just going to ask of our esteemed panel of LRG experts here is, who is your winner pick? Who's the winner pick? Who's going to take it all? I'm going to go in alphabetical order this time. So Dustyn will be first. Who's the winner pick?
I do have a background in library science, so I'm super excited. Alphabetical order, we're hitting my alley. I said it earlier too. I'm going to go with the edit here, and I'm going to say Jazzy. There's a ton of people that I'm rooting here, folks. I'm rooting for everyone, honestly. Anybody but that puts like themselves out on a playing field like that, mad props. So I'm rooting all of individually, but Jazzy this time. Good luck.
All right, Rachel, who's your winner pick?
Looking at my notes, trying to decide. I'm gonna say, based off these 2 episodes, I'm torn between Allison and Nick because I feel like Nick got a very good edit. Like if I'm thinking of the edit, but I just think Allison's doing pretty good. I think she can play this game and make it very far.
All right. Stephanie, I guess
I
that would
have
be
two.
yeah.
I definitely have like 2 choices, and it's between Jazzy and Kim. I feel like, again, Kim just by this much, and I think she's gonna take it home. So.
All right, Stephen, take us home. Who's your winner pick?
Rachel, I was debating between the same 2 people you were, but I'm going to go for Nick as my winner pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I see a savvy. Yeah, I see a savviness to his gameplay. I don't see people. I don't see people wising to it until it's far too late. And I think he's gonna, at the very minimum, have a deep run.
He's a bear. Like, look at him. He's like a little teddy bear. He's gonna win.
All right. Well, thank you, panel. Really appreciate it. I hope that you will continue to watch. I just want to give a shout out for anybody who's watching. Our applications are open for 2023. It's the last weekend in July, the 27th through the 30th. We hope you would apply and be a part of our next cast. We want as big and as diverse and as interesting of a casting pool as possible. So please apply. Come and be a part of our next exciting game this summer. You can follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to watch our episodes. Episodes are every Sunday at 8:00 Eastern. Episode 3 will be this Sunday, and it is the first Immunity Challenge and first Tribal Council. So this is where the game gets interesting. So be sure to subscribe and watch and follow along. Thank you all so much again. Thank you to everybody who's watching. I see a lot of the cast in the chat and in the channel. So thank you all. I hope everyone had a good time. And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Only 37 minutes longer than I expected. Perfect. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.